What's up guys, it's time to learn the HUD SD card carousel effect. This is probably the most requested tutorial, so I thought let's sit down. I'm gonna break down all the techniques, everything you need to know about creating this awesome effect. This is literally the most requested tutorial. So this effect is not just for advanced After Effects cracks. If you are a beginner, if you have opened up After Effects a couple of times, you're totally right here. I explain everything in detail on a slow pace, so you can just follow along with all the details. We don't leave anything out. So I'm super hyped to get this one started to teach you the SD card carousel effect. Alright, so the first step is of course recording your footage. And you can see right now here, the clip I'm playing is the original clip I recorded. I actually used the FX3 with a helmet. That is quite an expensive setup. You don't need that type of setup to create this effect. I also have that mouth mount here, which is really amazing. You could just throw it in and then record your shots in POV. Or another thing you can do if you don't have that mouth mount, no worries, you can still follow along this video. You just take out your SD card, you put on a video on your phone, you just hold up the card and film it yourself. Those are the options you have to get the original clip, the footage, so we can jump into After Effects and create the amazing HUD SD card carousel. First thing we're going to do is to create here a new project. Boom, here, new project up here to the left. And now we are going to import our clip with Command I. So pressing Command I, I'm directing here to my folder I created. I just created the folder with the name HUD card carousel. And then here I have the footage folder. I can import the clip in here. Nice. The next thing you need is the clips you want to actually insert into the carousel. So let me import those placeholders as well. So here I'm importing the placeholders. Here in the purpose of the video, I'm just using photos or PSD files, but of course we can switch them later on with videos, or you can right away start with videos for your carousel. Now I'm creating a folder with placeholders. Boom, I'm dragged them all in. It's really important to keep everything organized right from the beginning. So now we have the folder here with our placeholders, which I created. I actually created them in a couple of hours just with ChatGPT and Photoshop, and I think that turned out pretty sick. If you're interested in tutorial on how to create graphics like that, let me know. And we have the original clip here. And of course, bring in your own creativity. I'm super excited what you're gonna create with this effect. First step is now we're creating a composition. So we drag here our original clip onto the composition icon. And now we have a composition with the exact frames here and the resolution as the clip, which is super important. And now we need to do the same thing again. So now we are dragging this time the comp, not the clip, onto the new composition icon. Boom. And now we have the clip inside a own composition, and now created a main composition with our comp that we created. And this one we call main comp. And this way we can always do changes to our original clip here inside the comp layer and switch it out or add things. And this is just really important that we keep everything organized and creating those pre-comps. Believe me guys, just follow the steps. And now the first thing we want to do is we need to track our clip. To track our clip, we go in here on the right to the tracker. If you don't see the tracker panel, go up to Windows and make sure here tracker is selected. And we are now choosing to track the motion. So let's click on track motion. This way here we can see that track point that we can drag bigger and smaller just appeared. And before we start tracking, I actually want to switch some settings. So we go here into options. Here you can leave everything as it is actually, but we need to change here from adapt feature to stop tracking. This way, when After Effects is not sure if the track is right, it's going to stop tracking. We can adjust manually and then keep tracking or start tracking again. Otherwise, it's going to search for similar looking spots and you might not get a clean track. And the confidence, we want to crank up to 90. Boom. So the tracker is really confident. So here you can see now the shot is not 100% perfect. It's a little bit blurry, which makes it harder to track. So if you shoot your footage, make sure it's as sharp as possible. Also with a high shutter, you make sure there is not much motion blur. And my fault here was I was shooting on an f-stop of 2.8, which includes a lot of blur. So for the purpose of this tutorial, it's still gonna work. So don't worry if your shot is a little bit blurry on the card, but I just want to highlight here, it's important to have it really sharp for the best tracking results. All right, now we need to find a spot we want to track. It should be high contrasty. So I'm gonna use here the white text. I'm gonna make that window as small as possible, because that way with the window actually defines the tracking area. And if the tracking area is smaller, the track is going to be faster because it doesn't have to scan that much. If you drag it really out, it's going to be a little bit slower. So that is fine, works for me. Now I'm tracking forward and see how the tracker does. Nice. So now the tracker wasn't confident above 90%, so it stopped, which is cool. We can check the track, everything's still good. We can just play the clip here again, boom, and here again, it stopped. And now we can actually bring up the keyframes with view, so we see the area or the sequence, a part of the sequence we already tracked. And this can help. Boom, let's keep tracking, and it actually does a super solid job, man. I'm really impressed. Everything works, stopped again, but still working good. So now it kind of gets a little bit more messy because I'm moving down. So now it still looks good, but you also have the option to just analyze one frame forward or one frame back. And I will go with one frame here to go step by step, because I know After Effects is going to have a hard time to track this. So I'm going to make the end kind of manually. Boom, drag it down, boom, drag it down. I really want that as precise as possible. Boom, drag it down. Let's go. Nice, that looks good. Yes, almost there. All right, cool. So now we can check the track with just dragging here the timeline slider like that. Boom, and that looks actually pretty solid, but we haven't tracked until the end. That is not a problem. If you haven't started at the beginning, we can open the keyframes with view, as I said, and then jump to the last keyframe here that we've tracked. And now we have the option to just track backwards. So let's play it again. Maybe go a little bit, zoom a little bit in so we can see actually what's happening. And it's doing a pretty good job. Tracking, tracking, tracking. Yes, it's a super contrasty point you see here. So it's doing a good job. We track it backwards. Now at the beginning, I'm coming up with the SD card, so it's the same at the end. After Effects might have an issue, but we could actually also increase the size of the window, and this way it might cause a better result, but I'm totally fine with doing those first and last frames manually. It's quite blurry and it's hard for After Effects. No worries, we got our back. All right, seems like we have tracked the full clip. Awesome. So now it's time to check the track. So I play it back, boom, boom, boom. And guys, this actually looks pretty good. Oh, here on the top, make sure you're always in the right window. So right now I'm on the layer. So I'm just watching the original clip, and I want to switch here to the composition window so I can really check what's going on. All right, let's check the track here. Everything looks pretty solid, pretty fine. If somewhere the tracker got it wrong, you can just adjust it here manually, but looks totally fine to me. And now we need to create a new layer. So right click here and new layer, and we're going to create a null object and call this one tracking data, because here on the null object we're actually going to store the tracking data. And now here to actually apply the tracking data, we need to edit the target. Tracking data, yes please, okay. And now we just need to hit apply, boom, and we choose X and Y, that's right. Press OK. And just like that, we have now the tracking data on our null object. Nice! First, really important step done.
Congratulations! 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 Congratulations!
Awesome. And now to check the track, we're going to create a solid. And this solid, we are also going to use later on to create rotation and edit and adjust the position of the carousel in general. So let's create a solid. You can either do this with Command Y, which is going to bring you directly to create a solid, or you can right click, new solid, but Command Y is quite faster, right? So let's create this solid and call it rotation solid. You can name it whatever you want, doesn't matter, but I'm gonna name it rotation solid. So boom, now we have a full frame solid here. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller and drag it up above my SD card. And actually I'm going to apply, let's apply grid effect. I love the grid, boom. And now let's make this one red and increase the border so we can check our track. And now, super easy step, we are now attaching or parenting, it's called in After Effects, this solid to our null object. And this way it's going to move with the data we have applied to the tracking, to the null object. So how to parent it? It's pretty easy here. You see parent and link. Now we just have to pick this lasso here and parent it to the tracking data. Boom, and this way. Now we have tracked it to our SD card. Awesome. Now we can check the track, and I think it looks pretty solid. Well done. First step is done, or even I think we've already done a couple of steps, right? So it's not too hard. I really try to make this as easy and simple as possible, and so you can learn something great today. So now the next step would actually be to save the project. I haven't saved it yet. Created this After Effects folder to save here my project files of After Effects. So let's call this one HUD Carousel. Let's move on and let's create our pieces, our content placeholder of the carousel. That way we jump first of all back here into our project. We have already imported our placeholder, right? And now we are going to create a composition for each placeholder. So you know by now how to create a comp, right? And let's do the same thing for all the other placeholders or videos you want to integrate. So let's drag them all on the comp icon. So we have a really nice comp for each of the video or placeholder we're working with. Awesome. Now we have everything open here, and I actually want that content piece to have rounded edges, and we can do this actually pretty fast. You just have to go up here to the tools of the shapes, and if you hold down, click down, you can choose the rounded rectangle tool. And now we're going to just double click it. Boom. This way we have created a rounded rectangle for our comp size. And now for the fill, I just want a solid color here. And now in the rectangle options, we go to rectangle path. And for the roundness, we can increase that. And look at that. Now you can see here, this way we can actually round up the rectangle. That's pretty cool, right? Let's bring up scale with S, scale it down to 99. And I think the roundness is actually pretty good. And now the magic happens with just a click. We can now use this solid as a track matte. So how do we do it? We first of all go to toggle and switch modes. Oh no, we're actually already in the right settings. So we just have to choose here for the track matte, the shape layer. Boom. This way now you can see here we can toggle on the transparency view. We now have nice rounded rectangle edges here. Awesome. Love that. Let's call this one mask, so we are staying organized. And let's duplicate the mask because I want to create outlines around the shape. So let's duplicate it, boom, and actually turn on the visibility here. And now for the fill, we don't want a fill color. And for the stroke, we want a solid color. Or you can also do a fade, looks also pretty cool. And now for the stroke here, we turn off the transparency view again. You can see here for the stroke, we've just created a stroke outline in seconds. Look at that, boom, outline. For the stroke, I might want to go to 2, tiny bit, you know? And we might want to adjust the color to fit our scene. So let's go to the outline, go to the color, and actually pick maybe this cool blue tone here. And now we have that outline of the bluish tone, or maybe orange looks better. So let's go with change the color again, choose the color picker, and I might want this orange here. Boom, look at that. I think that's pretty cool. Now we have orange outlines, or we just keep it clean with gray or white, whatever fits your project and your style. Like that, boom, pretty clean, right? And now we can do the same thing for all other comps. So they all look the same, they all have the same roundness, they have the same outline, and it's actually pretty easy. You just have to select both of those solids with Command C, and then we jump into the comp 2, we just paste them, and here for the track matte, we are just selecting the mask, and voila, done guys. Just like that, we can do the same for all others. In seconds, boom, track matte, mask, yes please, it worked. Now number 4, paste it, track matte, the mask of course, boom, just like that. And now we can afterwards of course switch the PSD to a video or whatever. Just in terms of this video, I'm just using photos just to make it everything a little bit faster. So now we can jump back into our main composition. We just created all of our amazing content pieces we want to add. The really exciting part starts because now we're going to create the carousel. Let's drink some water guys, stay hydrated. Now the summer begins in Germany. Super excited, it's now so hot. We need to drink water guys. So let's now, the first thing we want to do is now we are dragging all of our comps we just created, the placeholder, the videos for the carousel, the content for the carousel into our main comp. So let's hold down Command and select all of them, all of the comps we have created. boom, and we just drag them in here. For the purpose of organizing, I like to label them, so you can click on the color here and choose green, for example, and this way we have colored them. We can keep track of all the layers inside the timeline here. And for my case here, I have decided to use 6 content pieces for the carousel. I think 6 is a good amount. You know, we have 360 degrees, right? So now we need to divide our 360 degrees by the content pieces we have. This way we can ensure that it's the same amount of space between each content piece and the carousel looks clean. So let's throw up the calculator. Boom, calculator, let's go. Now let's divide 360 degrees by the amount of content pieces, which is 6. And it turns out we need a rotation of 60. If you don't know what to do now, no worries, I get you through that. I just want you to understand that you need to divide the 360 degrees by the content pieces you want to add to your carousel. And now the first thing we need to do is we need to select the rotation solid and the comps and actually make them 3D layers. Boom. So now we can access them in 3D space. That is exactly what we want. And it also helps to turn on the second view here, just like that. And I actually like that top perspective for our case now. So now you see they sit all in the same Z axis, and that's what we are going to change. So now here you can see they sit all on the same Z axis. So if I move one closer, it's closer to our camera, and you can move them away and they're gonna get smaller. And this is pretty much our 3D space, and that can really help when creating this effect. So now what we want to do, we select all of the comps, leave the rotation solid where it sits, and now just select the comps here, boom, and we drag them forward, just like that. We can drag them forward, and we can actually scale them down a little bit. So let's say we scale them down to 70 or even 50, like that. Looks good. So now all we have to do is to parent step by step each content piece to our rotation solid. So let's start here with number 1, with this one here, and parent it to our rotation solid. Boom, cool, nothing happened. It's just now reacting to all the moves and changes we do to our rotation solid. And now all we have to do is we change the Y rotation to the amount we just figured out with our calculator, which was 60. So Y rotation, put it to 60, boom. And you know, it just spun in 60 degrees on the Y rotation. And now the cool thing is, now we can parent our second content piece to the rotation solid again. And now 60 plus 60 is 120. So 120, perfect. Now we have our third layer, third content piece here. Now we parent it to the rotation solid again. 120 plus 60 is 180. Boom. You can see already here on the top view, we are building our carousel, and pretty straightforward, right? Awesome. Now we just need to jump to our layer 4. So just organize them a little bit. Layer 4 here. Now we parent it to our rotation solid, as you know. 180 plus 60 is 240. Boom. Awesome. Now we parent number 5 to rotation solid. 240 plus 60 is 300. Awesome. And now we just parent our last content piece here to the rotation solid. Let's go. And this way we have already now all of the content pieces in our carousel. And now by changing just the rotation on the solid, I can animate my carousel. Isn't that epic? I think that's super sick, right? And since we have tracked the position of the SD card before and actually attached our rotation solid, parented the rotation solid to our null tracking data, it's also tracked now to the SD card. Boom! Guys, isn't that satisfying? And it's just a couple of clicks, right? So now we can go more into fine-tuning and adding and changing things, position, just make it overall look cooler. So the first thing I might want to do now is jump again onto the content pieces here. Actually adjust the scale a little bit more so it comes closer together. Just drag them up a little bit more. It looks like they're sitting closer together. Awesome. You can just adjust it to your likings. And now on the rotation solid, which controls the whole carousel. So let's call this one maybe Carousel Control. That is a better name, right? It actually makes sense. Man, it's so smart, Keanu. So now let's scale down the whole carousel here. Boom. And now we can drag it up in the position. So actually above. our SD card, and we can also tilt the carousel here and do all sorts of animations. But let's quickly see how that looks. That is so cool, right? And now we can actually change it to one view again so we can see what is happening. Let's go to fit and let's save it. Or save it, guys. We need to save our clip. It's time to drink something. I'm always impressed by that. I think it's so satisfying to watch that. Now what we can do is we can actually animate everything. And let's say we want it a little bit bigger. The carousel, like a final size, something like that. I think that looks cool. Let's tilt a little bit down here. Like that. It's just some fine tuning. Cool. Actually, to make the carousel pop out of the SD card. That is the first animation I want to add. So when I'm going up here, boom, and I actually select the card, boom. Here, I wanted to scale it up. All right, so boom, that is the final scaling position. So I'm making here a keyframe for scale. But before we do that, we need to make sure that our anchor point is actually close to the SD card. So it looks like the carousel comes out, pops out of the SD card. That's what we want, right? So we can choose here on the top the anchor point control and just drag it down to the SD card before we do the keyframes for the scaling. And now we create a scale keyframe for the end. And here at the beginning, let's set it to 0, like that. And this way, boom, it's now coming out of the SD card. Pretty sick, right? Boom, that is what we want, like that, like that. And now we can smooth the keyframes. We can go here into the graph. I want that speed graph actually, like that. Or we can just use a shortcut to smooth keyframes, which I have on 2. Easy ease them. Or you can, that way you can also do it is you can just right click it and then choose easy ease. And you see here my shortcuts for that. This way it just looks smoother. And we need to make sure that the timing is right. For this videos, it's super important to match the timing so it looks really well thought and well integrated. So boom, like that. Here I'm clicking. So when I'm clicking, it should start something like that. Boom, maybe a little bit earlier and give it a little bit more time. Boom. And maybe we can add a little bit of a bounce so it looks real. So it's first of all become a little bit bigger and jumps back into the original scale and size we want. So we can actually just add another keyframe here, make it a little bit bigger than the one we have at the end. So it kind of jumps back. Look that, boom. Doesn't look too good right now, but just an idea you maybe can play around with. And I also want that keyframes here in the speed graph for the scale. I want that animation to feel a little bit more organic. So we will have a slower start here, boom, and slower end. Boom, look at that. Looks way cleaner. We can give it a little bit more time, like that. And that looks pretty cool. And if you wonder, Keanu, there is this red grid in between. It looks like shit. Why does it be there? It doesn't have to be there. At the end, I'm just turning it off, boom, and you have a clean look. So don't worry about that. You can just turn it off. But I like to turn it on until I have my animations right. That way I can easily control everything. All right, so look at that. Let's save it. Already looks awesome. And here we are missing something. We are missing motion blur, guys, because something's coming fast out and it's super easy in After Effects. You just select your comp and you just activate motion blur with that button here. Boom. And just like that, like motion blur. Look at this. Look at the difference here. It just looks so much more realistic when it pops out. And when we spin it, it just feels so smooth like that. Love it. That's so cool. We might want to add a little animation here to the SD card because when we click it, I think it should kind of react somehow. Boom, we click it and then it should start, and we need some kind of little animation to make this look cool, okay? But let's do the carousel first, then I'm going to show you how to do that. And now we need to make the rotation animation, right? So that we can actually do pretty easy here. Boom, we want to rotate it. So here we make a Y rotation keyframe when the rotation should start of the carousel and when it should end, something like that here. And now we just need to rotate it in the right direction of where I'm actually rotating. So look at that, boom, just like that, boom, easy, too easy, guys, nice. And now we do exactly the same here. The next one starts, so we do a keyframe, and here the next one ends. So let's do the rotation again. Let's say we want to rotate just small rotation like that. Make sure this one really fits the timing. I think we should rotate a little bit further so it looks just cooler. Just want to rotate to a cool screen, so like that. And here we can also jump into the speed graph here and make sure it slowly starts. So if you don't see that kind of graph, just right click and you're probably in the value graph. You can also work with the value graph, but I like to work with the speed graph. So I'm choosing the speed graph here. And for our first rotation, I also want to make it slow at the beginning and then speed up and this way like that. And we have another one at the end. So it starts here, boom, the end, and here it's done. Awesome. So we spin it a little bit like that. Yes. Now we go into the speed graph again and actually make our speed graph right. Cool. Awesome. Have it like that. And now you can just keep on spinning. I think you get the idea. So this way now we have motion blur. We have some awesome spins here like that. Boom, boom, boom. Cool. Let's add the little effect at the beginning here where I say I want to highlight just the SD card. I haven't planned it for the tutorial, but let's do it. Let's do it anyway. I hope you have a couple more minutes to learn this. And boom, here it starts. So I want to define where it starts and I want to duplicate the original clip. So let's duplicate it with Command D and make a cut with Command Shift D. We don't need that first part. We just need that tiny second where we want to highlight it. And with a little bit of buffer, I'm cutting it here out again. So this is the area here where I want to highlight the SD card, right? And now we just have to mask out that layer. Let's call it SD card. And it's actually pretty easy. You just have to apply the effect Mocha. We jump quickly into Mocha. You don't need any experience with Mocha. Just gonna do a quick mask here. So you select the pen tool here. You draw a mask around it, just quickly. Now we're going to make sure to leave out the finger. We don't want to highlight the finger. Looks good. And now we just need to track forward. And now the track is already done because just a couple of frames. And track backwards. Awesome. But here at the beginning, we don't want to highlight the finger. So I'm sparing out the finger like that. Awesome. And here we jump back into the original selection. Yes. Awesome. And now we can just save that mask here with Command S, or the tracker actually. We can close Mocha. And here on the clip, we can single the layer so you can see what's happening. Let's single that layer. It's just now that layer activated. And here in the matte options of Mocha, you can just create an After Effects mask. Now we just have that one here. It's just a quick mask, right? Awesome. If you want to do it 100% precise, I would also make sure that the finger is here out of the frame. But for this tutorial, I don't think it's too important. So let's add the Lumetri color effect and let's add a exposure. So we like kind of highlight it. There's a couple of ways to highlight it, but I think that's the easiest one for now. Now we kind of keyframe here the exposure. So we have a keyframe here for exposure, and let's say in the mid of the clip here, I want the exposure to be high. So let's turn on all the layers. And at the beginning, I want it to be at 0, and at the end, I want it at 0 as well. And we smooth it, ease them, and this way now it kind of looks like we have selected it, right? So we have that little boom, boom. It just adds that little touch. It's all about the details with this edit. So let's watch it. You see? I think that just makes a big difference. And we can make that effect even longer. Make sure it stays high exposed for a longer time, like that. So I think, guys, that looks pretty cool. We have a great carousel. And one thing we can do to make them more realistic, integrate them more realistic into our scene is we select them here, boom, and choose the blending mode screen, which is actually pretty cool. I think it looks pretty cool. Now you see here, I just changed the blending mode, and that way just looks more integrated into the scene, which is pretty cool. One thing to make it even look cooler is a little bit too much to have them on blending mode screen. I would rather go for normal here and maybe just go with the opacity a little bit down, like maybe 95, so you can see a little bit of the background like that. Boom, boom. And this way it just looks a little bit more integrated into the scene, right? So maybe we can go that even a little bit more. So like that, 74, play it back, yes, boom, just like that. You can play around with all those settings and make sure you create something that works for you, for your style, for your video purpose. And that was just a quick one to show you how to create the carousel, the idea, the techniques behind it. And I hope you've learned a lot. I really want to keep pushing these YouTube videos. I think it's a lot of fun. And guys, if you're serious about learning video editing and joining a global community of talented creators around the world, you should check out the Creators Club. I'll link it down below. It's our community. It's where we host live calls. I'm answering your questions. We have so much long form detailed tutorials. They go even way more deeper than we did today. So definitely check it out. Link is down below. It's a huge community. I'm answering all your questions inside the feed. It's not just tutorials, but also a platform where I show you everything what's going on. And it's not just tutorials, it's actually also a platform where we have a feed function. You can direct message me, ask questions, share your projects, and man, it's so much fun. Like, Creators Club has been my absolute favorite passion project. If you're serious about that, check out the Creators Club. I would love to see you there. And if you have any suggestions for further YouTube videos, let me know down in the description. I really want to push that here, and I would love to hear your feedback on the effect and see your results. And guys, I can't wait to see you in the next tutorial.